didn't want to watch it at 9:30. I didn't eat dinner yet. Huh?
Aloha and welcome to the Neighborhood Board January meeting, 1st of 2025 at the Ben Parker Elementary School. This meeting is called to order. First order of business is the filing of vacancies on the board. We have two vacancies, one with Windward Mall area and Sub-District 2, 7 Puahala. Is there anyone here who's interested in serving on the board from any of those sub-districts? I have one, and your district would be District 7, Puahala. Is there anyone else? Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? There's a microphone right up there. Come on up.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Abe Toma. I live in Kāne for the past 20 years or so. I am my job, I guess I'm an IT program manager. So I've been doing that for about 25 years. I currently work for Department of Planning and Permitting, helping them with their IT projects. But prior to that, I worked as a consultant for various IT programs with different consulting agencies locally. I saw that there was a vacancy here in my area. I've been kind of tracking board activities for a while through kind of the minutes that you send out. I really love living in Kaneohe. I think it's maybe a hidden gem. I like the fact that people feel like it's so far away, but it's really only a 15-minute drive to get to town. I like the fact that people let you cut in and wave at you when you do. That people hold doors for each other. I think that's the kind of community that we have. So if there's anything that I can do to maintain and grow our community in that way, I'm interested in assisting with that.
Excellent. Specifically, what would you like to do on the board?
If there's anything I can do to help kind of connect what we do, I have a background in technology. So if there's anything that I can provide some insight on that, that's something that I've done for my whole career. But as a person who's raised two kids in Kaneohe, I have an interest in making sure that we have community resources available for children, and that's something that's accessible to everyone. And so if there's something that I can do to assist with that, I'm interested in that as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody from the board have any questions? Is there a motion to bring aboard? First name was
Abe
Toma?
Toma, yes.
Sakamoto motions to approve this person to be on our Kaneohe Neighborhood Board.
Seconded by Neil Flytel. All in favor? Any opposed? No abstentions? Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Come on over and grab a seat. Do you have to do a swearing in? The board will be in recess for just a few minutes while the swearing in takes place. So you may socialize and enjoy fellowship with one another.
Oh, hey.
Yay, thank you. See.
We can do whatever we decide to do.
I don't know any.
In the blue light.
Okay, the board is back in session with our new board member. Next on the agenda are the city and state monthly reports. And I see the Honolulu Fire Department is here.
Good evening, Captain Josh Ching Pickett, Kāne Fire Station. We'll read the monthly statistics for December 2024, end of the old year. In Kaneohe, there were no structure fires, no wildland fires, no nuisance fires, 1 cooking fire, and 3 activated fire alarms with no fire associated. There were 153 medical emergencies, 3 MVCs, motor vehicle collisions, and 2 mountain rescues. No hazardous materials or ocean rescue incidents. This month's tips are electrical safety. Electrical safety is make sure that you unplug all unused electrical appliances when not in use. If you're doing any electrical work, to have a certified electrician and not do it yourself. If you have any loose wires or any exposed wires, to have them taken care of, capped, covered with cover plates that children don't play with. These are the start of a lot of nuisance fires that can lead to structure fires that we get. That's the safety tip of the month. Any questions?
Any questions? Well, there are a couple of discussion items on the agenda. And what we've been doing lately is as things come up around the month, they get added to the agenda, community concerns, and 2 of them are here. Sure.
Just quick.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the mountain rescues?
Mountain rescues, usually there'll be injured hiker, missing hiker. We have a few hiking trails in the Kaneohe area. Stairway to Heaven is the most famous. There is a Lilikeke Falls Trail, Friendship Trail.
But for the ones that was in the report, you know where
Do I know who they were?
or where they were?
Where they were. I know one of them for sure was actually started on the Moanalua Trail, which feeds to the back way to Stairway to Heaven. That's kind of where it was in the in-between area. The other one, I don't really quite know.
Thank you.
Yes.
Back to the agenda. 2 items for discussion from the community. What initiatives does the community need to take to reduce the proliferation of illegal fireworks?
What does the community do?
Yeah.
I can't really speak for the entire community, but I think it's individually whatever they deem to be important to them. Yeah, again, I can't speak for everyone. Everyone has a different way of which they go about their own business, safety concerns. Everybody's different. What
Good.
do for recreation.
Thank you. One of the other questions for discussion is what events or activities did Honolulu Fire Department respond to during New Year's?
What events?
Yeah. Or activities.
Activities in the Kaneohe area
Yeah.
or department-wide? In the Kaneohe area, I can't say for sure because we were not working on New Year's Eve, but there were, I would say, probably a number of medical emergencies, probably difficulty breathing, no fires or fireworks related incidents, or else they would have showed up on this report. This is again is for December. It may not include those that happen after midnight, which would be found in the January 2025 report.
For sure. Captain, if you wouldn't mind passing on to the other the leads
Sure.
that every month when we put out the agenda, it's a week before the meeting.
Yes.
And on that agenda will be things that we would hope that you could come to the meeting and tell us about.
No problem.
Mahalo. Any other questions for HFD? Sakamoto, and
Yeah.
then
Thank you. Chair, thank you. Thank you for the report,
Yes.
Fire Department. I live by the Kola Golf Course.
Yes.
And we get a lot of emergencies there, I guess, because people are hiking. And Some people go late, some people go early, but they still get injured. So you folks get a lot of calls over there too.
That is correct.
Yeah, I kudos for you folks doing a good job because I hear the ambulance and the fire department, and I was always cringe to see knowing who might be hurt, injured or hurt over there. Thank you.
Mr. Randall.
Test. Yes, Captain, thank you. Is there any thought process going on about the establishment of a hotline that the residents can call to report the illegal fireworks? It's quite conceivable that Kaneohe could have experienced what happened over in Aliamanu on New Year's Eve from 6 o'clock, 6:30, right until after midnight. It was just an onslaught of a barrage of illegal aerials. And we know what happened over in Aliamanu.
Yes, if you're asking if there is a hotline.
Or some sort of a notification process that the residents can call to report the illegal fireworks. We can't have this happen again.
Yes, I'm not at liberty to say as this happens, at different levels of government or different levels of planning. I think a lot of things have to happen logistically before there is a, I guess, uniform way of which this gets reported and dealt with. I'm not even quite sure if HPD would be able to answer said question at this time. I think we're all kind of at a wait and see, the powers that be, elected officials, governing bodies, whether there will be any changes, if there will be going forward. I'm sorry I couldn't answer that
Well, that's good, Captain. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your efforts.
problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mo,
You.
Mo, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I had my hand up. I have a
Okay.
question.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
off you go.
Okay, Josh, I think from the way you answered, it sounds like you might have misunderstood the first question as to be what does the community do? The question was, what can they do to reduce the proliferation, stop it, of fireworks? Thank you.
What can they do? Again, not speaking for everybody. I know speaking for just myself, to be safety conscious and, some consideration probably for others. That's, you're talking about a sociological, norm and, things bigger than what I could probably provide. This is a much, much larger issue.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for HFD? Mahalo. Next up is Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello, good evening. So I'm Lieutenant Villaflor from the Kaneohe Police Station. I'll be providing the statistics for December. For this month, for the month of December, we had 0 vehicle thefts compared to 4 last month, 2 burglaries compared to 8 last month, 14 thefts compared to 12 last month, no UEMVs, which stands for unauthorized entry into motor vehicles. But we had 3 robberies compared to 1 last month. And regarding the thefts, that's like pickpockets, shoplifting, theft of property. That's it for the property crimes.
Oh, so I'm going to have the same issue that I would just brought up with the fire department. Each new agenda, you may see some discussion items
Mhm.
that members of the community or the board would like to have some feedback on at the next meeting, if at all possible. And in this case, there are 2 discussion questions. What events or activities did HPD respond to during New Year's?
Well, for us, the holiday doesn't stop, so we responded to everything. The day was regular, but regarding fireworks, for New Year's Eve, well, I can give you, from the 29th to the 4th, we had District 4 in total, not just Kaneohe, but the entire district. We had, 157 nuisance calls for fireworks.
What happens on one of those calls? Does
So
anybody
those-
get dispatched?
Yes, so those are hard to enforce because a neighbor would hear or see fireworks. They would call dispatch. Dispatch will relay to us. Our officers go out. By the time our officers go, for one, you can't determine where the firework was shot or let off. So we proceed to the area we can see, but again, it all comes down to who lit the fireworks and where it came from. So that's why there's 157 calls, but I think we had no arrests.
Can you estimate how many? I wasn't looking for arrests or even citations. I was looking for, of 157 nuisance calls, how many officers or how many cars were dispatched to those specific calls?
Every
Half?
call that's called, we will service those calls. But unfortunately, we'll have a lot of times the callers won't want to meet with us. They just want to report it. So as far as the investigation, we're just driving around looking for it, and it usually goes unfounded because callers rarely want to meet with us and tell us where they heard it from or point out a suspect or even a direction.
Okay, thank you very much. The other question were any citations given for fireworks violations in the district? If so, how many?
Okay, so citations, we had one adult cited. No arrests, just one person cited.
Thank you. Any questions for the Honolulu Police Department? I see Mr. Sakamoto and one online. Go ahead, Donald.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lieutenant, for the report. Just concerning the fireworks, were there any police drones being used to observe the fireworks so they can pinpoint what was going on and maybe use video footage to catch these people doing illegal fireworks?
I know in our district, I know for a fact there weren't any drones used in our district, for sure, there weren't.
Okay, thank you.
And Board Member Tomey on the call.
Thank you, Mo. I have a question. When you say that they were all serviced, I understand you don't always talk to the person who phones in the complaint, but do you ever knock on doors to ask around if anyone's seen anything, or if you have an indication of where it came from? Do you call upon that house and just say, perhaps you've been possibly identified as setting off fireworks, anything like that?
I'm not out there personally handling
Right.
those cases, but I do know our officers are subject to civil rights laws, and we cannot just go up to doors and knock and ask, especially at the late hours where the fireworks calls are reported. It would have to be something very specific. We would have to have someone be willing to, write a statement and point to the actual house, and then we can actually go in and even when we start questioning them, if they're a suspect, our questions are already limited to what we can ask. So a lot of the investigation, it would have to be, for example, you would have to be willing to write that statement, point to that person, and be willing to point that person out, positively identify them, and talk to them and identify them further in court. And then again, we still wouldn't question them. We would either issue a citation depending on the probable cause and would make an arrest. But like I said, the firework will get let off in the air, and there's no way our officers can figure out where it came from. And at midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, we're not going to go and knock on people's doors and inconvenience them, unless, like we said, there's someone saying, I saw him or her let off the fireworks, they ran into that property, and then for sure we'll be conducting a further investigation.
Okay, so would you say that your ability to investigate these complaints is hampered primarily by people being unwilling to actually come forward and talk to you, send an officer out, and your inability to conduct an investigation due to fears of civil rights violations? Are those two, is that accurate?
It's not, we don't fear civil rights violations. We just do not ever want to impose on people. But like I said, in order for us to, the process to take effect, either we have to see it personally, then we can do it on our own. But we need, yes, 100%, we need the cooperation from the public to point something out, and not just point them out, be willing to identify the culprits involved.
So cooperation from the public.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Need witnesses, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for the the police department?
Chairman, I have, oh, sorry, Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Apologize for not being there this evening, but Lieutenant, I have a question. Everybody
Yes, sir.
has cameras on their phone.
Yes.
Can that be used as admissible evidence in your being able to help, or we help identify the individual who's setting off the fireworks?
Oh, 100%, sir. Yes. Unless, yes. If, as long as it's taken like in public, like those cameras can't be invading the privacy. But if it's definitely from a public point of view,
Public road.
yeah, 100%. That's great evidence for us.
Is there the opportunity for the police department, or if it has to go to the city and county, of things that the community can do to be more actively involved in curtailing, or bringing this to your the police, their reference, so that they have more to work with than what they have right now? I mean, what you shared this evening, I would say the majority of the public doesn't know. How do we get this information out to the community?
Social media is always great. I know everyone's on social media. I know the Senate has just, Senator Alva is incorporating Mean Hawaii as a means to get his messages out. That was great. Everybody saw that. So social media is a great way to get people to hear what needs to be heard, and good platforms like Mean Hawaii. And I'm not advocating him. I just know that it's being used by the Senate. So that would be another.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Okay, thank you very much. Rocky?
Mike, cool. I have two questions for the police department. Well, one is a statement. Right before Christmas, I called a couple of times about the fireworks at the Hiakia Pier. In fact, when the Hokulea was parked at the Hiakia Pier, some of the people that were there at night, because the family slept over, they also told me that it looks like there's sales being done from the Hiakia State Pier, because of the fact that they would show them how it's been worked. But right after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, they were going wild at the Hiakia Pier. I called a couple of times, and I also mentioned it, that it seems like somebody is showing what they got to sell at the Hiakia Pier. Because I got the privilege, I guess, to house sit some people's dogs that ended up in my bedroom when all of this was happening. So it got irritated with the fireworks. But I have another question. Early this morning, about 4:30 in the morning, all the police was right outside of our house. I mean, not too far from our place, right at the end of the Hiakia stretch. because the lights woke us up. So I just was wondering what that was, because I did report about the homeless across the street in the beach side. I don't, there's so much homeless in here, Kia. About a year ago, the police came because we made a report and asked one of the guys not to come back because he is, I can say, I knew him from before. He did rape his own family. And they told him not to go near it because he's not supposed to be near the pier, the canoe club. Well, he's back and there's more people look very scary in here, Kia. But directly across at the beach, there's a new encampment over there, and it's far from the bathrooms, and it's so dirty looking. And our kids go across and they go swimming, and we wonder where they're using the bathroom. We got to walk through there. So I did make the report, and I hope they check on it. So that's my report with the police. Mahalo. But I thank you for your hard work and your good work. And I
Thank you,
call and
ma'am.
I don't keep myself anonymous.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Okay, mahalo.
Thank you, Antiraki. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your
Thank you.
report.
Have a good evening.
I think everybody's, as it relates to fireworks, everybody has kind of seen how things grew this year. This year was really big. Usually sometimes I look at it like stealing. Some people steal steal just a little bit. They never get caught. And if they get caught, nothing happens. So you steal a little bit. There's lots of stealing going around with fireworks. It's big, bigger than I've ever seen it. So I hope something happens more than just people calling it in. I think there's going to be some enforcement mechanisms, hopefully. And I got legislators sitting here, so mahalo. Okay, moving along to Hawaii Department of Transportation. The discussion item, well, I'm sorry. Yes, the discussion item was the flooding and slope stability near the H3 on-ramp in Kaneohe at Yacht Club Knolls. There was a nice report sent out. I sent it out to all the board members. And it's good news. It's not an issue. Kim, that was an issue you brought forward from one of your area residents. Are you okay with this, or do we need to have further discussion?
I'm sorry, Mo, I didn't see, are you saying you sent the DOT response to us?
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. If you're satisfied with it, then I
Well,
don't think I have.
There's a DOT rep here, so it's on the agenda. So, Lee, are you here? Who's our DOT rep? I see Hawaii DOT.
If you hover over it, it says that they haven't signed in.
Oh, got it. Thank you, Kim. So it was a pretty in-depth report, and we appreciate that. Kim, it looked like it answered all of the issues. The slope is stable. There are some other things that they're going to be doing in terms of maintenance on a more ongoing basis. And I will resend that specifically to the board. Maybe it didn't go through from my end.
Thank you, Mo.
You're welcome. Also, there was a question by Mr. Sakamoto, but that had to do with the status of the audiovisual cameras on H3. Oh, they said their mic is not working. Okay, well, if you can get the mic squared away, then we'll come back to you. Next is Marine Corps Base Hawaii. Any representatives from, oh, hello. I knew that. I saw you coming in.
Hi, aloha, good evening, happy new year, Chair, Neighborhood Board and Community. Just a few updates. I do have some information I'm going to leave on the table regarding a media release that we received just the other day in regards to the joint base. This is a Navy initiative, but it is regarding, it's an EA for continued training between California and Hawaii, both ocean and air. So I will leave the information on the table. One of the pages has a QR code. that you can easily track, and you'll be able to read and then put in any questions or information that you may have. There's also a virtual meeting that is coming up on Wednesday, January 22nd. And the link and all of that information is also right here. So I will leave that on the table for you.
Would you happen to know the deadline for submission?
Yes. February 11th.
Mahalo.
Coming up, and this is more for Waimanalo, but if there's anybody that travels to work through Waimanalo, perhaps maybe to the other side, on January 22nd, there's going to be a training exercise that begins at the Waimanalo polo field. And this is a memorial training. They will be crossing from the polo field over to McTab or to the Waimanalo area to do their ocean training. So they're do partial at the polo field and then partial at the ocean. But this is in support and like I said, a memorial for Nainoa Ho, who was a 1995 Kamehameha grad, who was killed in the line of duty in Iraq in 1995. I'm sorry, yes. I want to get this right. His dad works at the polo field. He was 27 when he was killed by a sniper in Iraq. He's a 95 Kamehameha grad. This occurred, I believe, in 2007. So this is in honor of him. There will be 70 individuals. We requested that HPD just be supportive. I know that I spoke with Major Price, and so she's aware of it and sending out the email for support. It'll be fine because they're doing intermittent crossing, so it shouldn't be too much of an impact. But again, this is from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. during a weekday when everybody's getting to school and traffic, and better to just put it out there so that everybody is aware. Also, there has been shifting over to training currently going on. There has been quite a bit of air training currently. We are in support. This is the annual Aloha Century support where we, our local Air National Guard is training with equipment that comes over from the continent. And this occurs at the ending of January, beginning of February. Their air training goes up to 2,100 and then should cease. However, I do know some of their on-the-ground training continues until midnight, and I experience it firsthand. It is very, very noisy. We do anticipate further training into later hours also in February. Some of those trainings could go intermittently with fixed air aircraft P3s and P8s throughout different times. Can't be specific on the the dates or times or anything, but also at 1 and 2 in the morning. But those would be takeoffs and landings. And that is all I have for the evening.
Any questions for Marine Corps Base about E?
Yes.
And then Donald.
Real quick one. It was just so that EA or EIS that's receiving feedback or just questions. It's still open to provide
Correct. Yes.
comments.
Yes, yes. And that link and that QR code will take you directly where you can put that.
Can I ask what your base helicopter maintenance schedule is right now? It seems like I hear them from 8 through midnight.
I can double check and ask what that is.
And just so you know, I live 7.5 miles from the base. That's how far the noise travels in our town.
I understand, me too.
Okay, Christy, thank you for your presentation. I live by the Polo Golf Course, so I can hear the noise too. It's not as loud as what Holly and some other people experience, but returning to the virtual meeting that you mentioned, if we attend the meeting like myself who is visually impaired blind, is the presentation going to be accessible for me to understand what's being presented in slideshows, description?
I do not know the answer to that. I can find out and ask I'll coordinate with the Navy and ask that specific question.
We appreciate if you can email me back the information when you find that. Thank you.
Sorry?
Do you have a comment? Just for clarification, Able Century is a National Guard exercise.
that's Hawaii's own National Guard? Are we in partnership with other National Guards, or how is DoD involved with that?
Air Guard with California, I believe.
Thank you.
I can get the specific one in California.
It's Homeland
And it's a
Defense
part-
though, right?
It's our Hawaii boys being able to utilize equipment that's based in California. And they come over yearly.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Marine Corps Base Hawaii?
Yes, Mo?
Go ahead,
Mo?
Kim. Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, thanks, Mo. Thank you, Christy, for your appearing here. My understanding, what I had hoped was that actually an EIS, and it's 4 volumes, and volume 1 is 712 pages. It's because the area is so large, as you mentioned, it's the Hawaii Islands and the corridor from Hawaii to California. Get down. Sorry, I can't get rid of this bird. And it's very difficult to tell which activities and changes will affect us locally. It's very hard to, you can't read through 700 pages and really pick it out easily. I was hoping, and I know about the meeting next week, but the deadline for submitting questions to that meeting was yesterday, and you won't be able to ask questions if you didn't submit them in writing. So
It's February 11th is the deadline.
that's the deadline for comments, yes. But as far as trying to educate ourselves, the deadline for asking questions for the meeting was yesterday. You had to submit them in writing. That's my understanding. And so if you can go, but you can't ask questions. Is there a way to find out just how much of this activity will affect our neighborhood? Do you have any suggestions for that? Oh, and additionally, is Tiffany going to be back?
Yes, she is.
But she's not going to be coming to these meetings?
She came last November. She came in November.
Okay.
We'll be sharing the responsibilities.
Okay. So my question, and then
Okay, so
sounds like
I'll, Kim, let me just go ahead and paraphrase where you're at.
Yes, thank
You're
you,
looking
Mo.
for something that makes this brief that's coming up on the 22nd, something that directly addresses the concerns that we might have in Kaneohe, in our area. Is that right?
Yes.
Can we just ask whoever's making the presentation to focus specifically on, of course, there's a whole brief, but make that part of the presentation as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Anything else from Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Mahalo. Next, we have some board briefs and discussion. First one is H3 speeding enforcement by our own Major Paiva. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So I'm here to talk about the H3. I met with Neil and Dale and Donald at a coffee with a cop last month, I think it was. And one of the discussions that we talked about was the H3. And I had given them some history about how we've been dealing with the problems on the H3. And they were surprised at how much has been done so far and that the community did not know about it. So they asked me to come out here and just give some background as to how it's been going. So I came here in May of last year to this district. And one of the things that we do is we go out and we talk to our officers and ask what they need. And a sergeant in the Kailua station had started a project to fix the gate on the H3 lookout as you're coming out of K-Bay on the right-hand side. Because the gate was broken, and on the weekends and holidays, these speeding clubs would come and they would congregate there during times that they shouldn't be there. And because the gate doesn't close, it was just a haven for them to congregate and then speed. He had reached some problems with fixing the gate. And so I had gotten involved and I asked some of our community leaders, Scott Matayoshi in particular, helped us get in touch with the DOT. And eventually, pretty quickly after that, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months, the gate was fixed. And that was a real good start to our problems with the congregating of the racers. It kind of went on from there because we have a few former traffic division officers in our district who do like to make sure that our highways are safe. And so they would be on the H3. And what we noticed was a lot of the speeding happened going into base at night. And Mr. Sakamoto reminds us, constantly that there's these people at night that are making all these noises. So we went to, we were invited to K-Bay by Colonel Bevan. He was the new commander at the time. And we met with Provost Marshal Kelly Lundmark, who was also new at the time. And we discussed some issues that we had between HPD and the military. One of them was the speeding, and Colonel Bevan was totally on board with helping us educate the military on the laws of the HPD and HRS. We ended up doing a joint operation project with them, doing speeding into the base. And we do have a concurrent jurisdiction with K-Bay. It goes from their base a little bit out towards, like the part that goes over the water to where the H3 stops. So that area is actually both of our jurisdictions. We are both allowed to enforce there. So what we did was we had a joint operation and we decided to do just education. So we had in about an hour and 15 minutes, we had pulled over 51 people at the gate. So we had PMO officers, we had DOD officers, we had our officers all out shooting laser. And then at the gate, we also had military HPD combined so that if it was a military person, the military people could help us with it. If it was a civilian person, then we could. However, we have a little bit more of an impact because our citations are monetary, where military citations are basically points, right? So we have a bigger, I guess, a bigger punch when you think about it. So after that, we actually wanted to do it about 3 hours. After about an hour and 15 minutes, we couldn't keep up. So we thought, this we have to do again. So we did it again, and this time it was still education because we needed a lot more hands-on officers. We didn't get as much. We got about 25, 30 warnings again, some citations. And then we do have one and coming up with the military that we haven't gotten a date yet. And this time there's no more education. It's been quite honestly, like we've been out there, we've given enough education that it's time to actually bring down the hammer. So this is still going into K-Bay. We're still doing a partnership with them, which is awesome. Our next project will be coming out of K-Bay, and that's because once they get out of K-Bay and they get onto the H3, it's honestly really dangerous and difficult to pull over somebody, especially a motorcycle, that's going 100+ miles an hour. So that's why we chose going into the base, because going into the base, they have no choice but to slow down. Going out of the base, it's a little bit harder, but we still will do our enforcement through patrol, not necessarily with K-Bay, because once they pass that threshold of concurrent jurisdiction, it's just us. And we don't want them to have to be forced to chase somebody into a jurisdiction that is not theirs. So that is still on hold. We're still trying to figure it out. But in general, it's been a very good partnership between us, us and K-Bay, and then we have more officers that are coming out. We call them fourth watch officers. They're the ones that just come out of recruit school. They just finished with their field training. They're in that transitional phase to get into patrol on their own. So on the next project that we do, we will be bringing them out so they can write the citations. It's good for them to get practice. We need the extra bodies. And in general, I think it's going to be another successful project. Slowly but surely, we're dealing with the problem. But as you know, even going into K-Bay, that lookout on the side, that we actually, there's no gate, right? So you still have that lookout that they congregate at. There are signs up there, there were signs up there for park closure, but the signs were taken, so we're in the process of getting new signs. But what we have gotten was approval from the Department of Transportation on the weekends to actually close that during certain times of the night, which would normally be park closure times. So we actually go up there because there's no gate and we cone it all off so that they can no longer congregate in that parking lot, that lookout as well. So there are different measures that we have been using to try to alleviate the problems of the speeding on the H3. Our statistics show that it has been lessening as far as the violations are concerned, but it's still, I mean, it's a speeder's haven, you know, it's very difficult to cut it out completely.
Have you spoken with DOT about the audio and visual cameras?
I have not. We've been kind of keeping up to date because Mr. Sakamoto sends us the updates. But that does sound to be something that it could be very useful on the H3.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Mr. Sakamoto, you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to thank Major Paiva and her wonderful department for doing what they can. You know, that audio video cameras, we talked when we were at your coffee time. And my concern was, and your concern too, was when you have a bunch of vehicles all bunched up, which one is making the noise because it's so close? That was my concern with the audio video cameras. But on December 22nd, 2024, I called about 1:04 p.m. I think I mentioned this to you before you went on your vacation. There was a lot of cars, maybe 150 to 200 in the afternoon, speeding and going back and forth, actually turning around by the exits. And the 911 call was considerable amount of time. Did you find anything about the 911 call? Why it took so long for it to go through? This has been brought up in November by Dale Carson too, but Sunday.
I'm sorry.
Was this?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the Eddie was running that day. As far as I know, I'm not in communications. I'm not sure what the issue was. However, I do know that they have been very short on staffing. I know a lot of times they're mandated to stay over. That particular day, I'm not sure what their staffing was like. The communications division in and of itself, I mean, calling 911 and having to wait that long is not good. And there has to be other means of you getting a hold of us if it's an emergency. I don't know exactly what happened that day, but I'll find out from communications. To be honest, I think it's happening more often than not, just because they are very, very short. They are hiring. They really do need more bodies up there, more people up there. So, yeah, let me find out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure. One more thing. That's it. Okay.
Vice Chair?
Yeah, just comment on the traffic cameras. I mean, I know they have very good zoom on them and they could probably follow the traffic on there. I used to operate the same cameras for Seattle Traffic System Management Center. So not sure how it's done here at the Joint Traffic Management Center, but I remember one of the operators talking about they used to be able to see hikers on the stairs. So they're able to move the cameras very well and look around the area between their stations. So hopefully you can make contact with them. And they have a lot of time. I mean, I did have a lot of time, so I was able to use the cameras. And when I was there, I used to have reporters and also local police call up and ask for, you know, can you move this camera to look at this for us?
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, are you talking about for the H3?
For the H3.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of cameras.
I know that when we call the tunnels, you know, they are a huge resource for us when it comes to accidents. They can see a lot. I'm not sure about the Joint Traffic Center because I don't normally go through them, but Tunnel Control calls us a lot whenever there's things that's happening on actually numerous roadways, but mostly the H3.
Thank you very much for that brief. We look forward to seeing you back again.
I'm just gonna say that I'm super appreciative to have been here. It's hard for me to say, but I'm being moved. I know I'm being moved. The orders went out this week, so I am leaving. I'm super sad. You're gonna have a great major that's coming in with Major Platt. He was here prior to me. So I'm super appreciative of everything that Kaneohe, Kahuku, Kahaluu, all the way Kailua, Wananalo, they have been so good to me. And I'm sad to leave, but thank you for all your support.
And thank you for your service. Or are you going far away?
I actually decided to retire. So yeah, hopefully I work with Christy. I'm gonna hang out with Christy.
Mahalo.
Thanks.
Okay, our next brief is the brief from BLNR talking about the disposition of the Castle Medical Center, formerly HPU. Don Che, welcome.
Thank you very much. Aloha. My name is Don Chang. I am the chair of the Board of Land and Natural Resources, but I am a longtime resident of Kaneohe. My family, we are the Ho'okanos with generational ties to Kaneohe. So I'd also like to introduce members of my staff that are here. I have David Smith. David is the administrator of the Division of Forestry and Wildlife. And I have Jason Radula. Jason is the chief of the Division of Conservation and Resource Enforcement, DOCAM. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Chase, your last name? Chase Auburn. He is the new CEO for Adventist Hawaii, and Terry George with Castle Foundation. So we're all partners in this transaction. But what I wanted to do tonight was to provide you a brief presentation on the acquisition by the state of the Hawaii Loa campus by the state. So in 2023, the legislature, it was Act 164, and then it was amended in 2024. We received legislative appropriation of about $21 million to acquire the land and the improvements of what is currently known as Hawaii Loa campus, which is currently owned by Adventist Hawaii. So the property is approximately 132 acres. It lies within the State Land Use Conservation District General Subzone. So we have received a portion of those funds and we are proceeding with our due diligence. I want to include the issue was specifically for use by the Department of Health and the Department of Land and Natural Resources. The Department of Health is not here today, but they were proposing to use some of those, to use portions of the administrative building for their services. So let me give you some background on this property. Castle Foundation, the original grantor of the property to Hawaii Loa College, has a restrictive use covenant that runs with the land. It restricts the use of the Hawaii Loa property to charitable, education, health, and certain state uses that are consistent with nonprofit charitable purposes. Failure to use the property consistent with those restrictive covenant for 5 years could result in the property reverting to Castle Foundation. The determination of whether the proposed uses are consistent with the restrictive covenant shall be determined by Castle Foundation. So DLNR has proposed uses, and I'd like to describe what our proposed uses are. So the mission of DLNR is to to enhance, protect, conserve, and manage Hawaii's unique and limited natural, cultural, and historic resources held in trust for the current and future generations of the people of Hawaii and its visitors in partnership with others from the public and private sectors. I'll just briefly kind of describe our kuleana. We manage 1.3 million acres. Most of that is managed by DOPA. We also manage the waters out to 3 miles and just about everything in between that isn't encumbered by another department. So the vision, DLNR's vision for Hawaii Loa campus is a state-of-the-art facility centered on the responsible management of Hawaii's precious trust resources. It is a place of learning, collaboration, and synergy, bringing together the best of government, partners, and nonprofits whose mission is to Malama Aina and Aloha Aina. The grandeur of this facility reflects the sacred responsibility of caring for our lands and waters. It elevates this important work to our society in its rightful place by providing adequate and appropriate space for this crucial work. The campus is a nexus for transformative change rooted in Hawaiian values and restores and celebrates the vital connection of the people of Hawaii to our lands and waters. Let me briefly describe some of the divisions that we are proposing to be housed in. So we currently have 10 divisions within DLNR, and we tend to relocate many of our operations to the Hawaii Loa campus. First, the Division of Forestry and Wildlife. Their mission is to protect and manage, restore natural and cultural resources in collaboration with the people of Hawaii. We envision a future with thriving native ecosystems and opportunities for the people of Hawaii to engage with nature. DOFA will consolidate its 3 bayshores in Makiki, Waimano, and Kauai Nui at Hawaii Loa campus to serve our main program needs in forestry, forest reserve, wildfire, watershed, and forest management, wildfire, wildlife sanctuaries, game management, endangered animals, native ecosystems, natural area reserves, native forest management, endangered plants and invertebrates, and our outdoor recreation, our Na'alahele trails, camping and hunting. Additionally, the facility will house critically endangered plants and animals in storm-hardened safe locations. Our Division of Conservation and Resource Enforcement, DOCARE, they effectively uphold the laws that serve to protect, conserve, and manage Hawaii's unique and limited resources, cultural and historic resources for the public trust. DOCARE proposes to use the campus and the existing facility infrastructure to provide a base for Conservation and Resource Enforcement Officer Training Academy. Additionally, we would propose the campus be used to support the Conservation and Resource Enforcement mission on the island of Oahu by providing a base for DOCARE's Oahu branch. These proposed uses would provide for close alignment and foster synergy between DLNR's divisions needed to enhance the overall protection of Hawaii's natural, cultural, and historical and recreational resources. Our third division is Division of State Parks.
You said you had 7 divisions?
I'm only going to go through five of them.
Okay, so look, this is good.
Okay.
And you're going to describe the
Proposals.
proposals of each of these divisions. Is this going to be an admin space for all of these folks?
Yes. No, not an admin space. They're actually going to conduct programs. We hope to utilize the admin space plus the dorm facilities to house these resources, do community engagement with the cafeteria, where we can, there's a lot of partners that we have on the windward side between He'i and Near, between Wainui, between Waimanalo, and we would like to create a safe space for them to work collaboratively with DLNR. So our intention is not to just house administration. It's actually to do operations. Most of our administration is at the Kalani Moku building in Honolulu, and we do not intend to move our administration office out to Wailoa campus. It really is intended to be a place for programs, including, for example, our Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation, DOBAR. They hope to have a public-facing office where you can do vessel registration. You can get permits. So that's what we're hoping with all of these divisions. Our Division of Aquatic Resources, they do a lot of marine sampling for nearshore waters. We hope to open a lab there, and so that they can actually do programs and enhance our programs that we're not able to do at Kalani Moku, or that they're distributed throughout the island. So that's what we're hoping Hawaii Loa campus can provide us.
I think what I would like, because you're reading something and it looks extensive,
Yeah,
I would like to have a copy of that so we could share it on our blog and also make it a part of our minutes. So anybody would want a chance to read this.
Sure.
And I don't want to cut you off, but you said you only have 15 minutes to do this, and I can already tell it's going to go much longer than that.
Well, that's basically it. I mean, those were the divisions. It's our state parks, our Division of Aquatic Resources, also our DOBAR and our State Historic Preservation Division. So we're planning on bringing about 7 of our divisions out to Hawaii Loa campus where they can have programs, they can do training, they can create the space for communities to gather. So
And all of these divisions and departments comport to conservation use?
preservation, they do education, they do protection, they do, for example, wildlife management, where we also do public recreation, our Na'alahele trails. We have fire management and mitigation. So we have a wide swath of responsibilities within DLNR, including, for example, our State Historic Preservation Division. They look at the protection and preservation of these cultural and natural resources.
Well, where do they do that now?
They do that right now in Kapolei.
Kapolei.
So I'd like to bring them together, all together, where they can do programs and offer these services to the public, including training, but a place for the public to also gather. It could be a place where we have our land board meetings.
Is there an opportunity for the public to chime in about what this is going to be?
Yes, no, we are at the way beginning. We are still doing due diligence. We will have to do we'll have to comply with Chapter 343. It's also conservation land.
Right.
So we will have to perhaps, if necessary, do a new conservation district use permit, even though CDUA falls under DLNR. But we will do an updated CDUA if necessary. We'd have to do an appraisal, a survey, a title report. So we're just in the process of kicking all of that up. But we wanted to do early presentation to the community to see whether get a temperature check. Do you guys think this is a good idea? So our next steps are, we'll do the Kailua Neighborhood Board on February 6th, and we're planning to go to the Board of Land and Natural Resources on February 24th. Again, these are all public forums where we'd like to get feedback from the community as to, do you support this? Is there something that we're not doing enough of? But we're thinking this is going to take us a couple of years to complete our due diligence, but we were encouraged by the legislators, elected officials, to come to Kaneohe Neighborhood Board first, because this is really your jurisdiction where this property is situated. So that's why we're here first, but it is still very early in the process, and we hope to get good community engagement on whether this is an appropriate use for this site and whether you support this or whether you have any concerns or comments.
It sounds like an appropriate use. I think the board would like to see a little bit more information, especially the information that you have there. Understand the kuleana and understand the synergy of this all. It sounds like it could be a wonderful thing and a great hub in a compressed location. I think we just like to know a little bit more about it, and more than just a brief being read to us.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
And
Try to get this to you.
I can provide you my email information. And yeah, we can go from there.
That's fine. We can do that. We can submit that to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a quick one. Used to work for DOFA. And so I was actually based out of Waimano at one point, and then Makiki. And I worked with, no matter where I was based, I worked with people from all over. So I definitely look forward. I would be in support of this and think it sounds like a great, it's all conservation related work, mostly within the conservation area. So I think it's a good idea. But I look forward to seeing more info though about it. Don't get me wrong.
Already, if the board is going to establish a committee to talk about this, I don't think there would be a better person to chair that committee than you. And thank you. And we also have a new board member who has an extensive communications and IT background. And to get our blog reinvigorated, we're welcome to have you aboard as well, Tom. Great timing today.
I appreciate the opportunity to present this to you. I'm available if you've got any questions, but I will get this, our written proposed uses to you so you can distribute them.
Beautiful. Mahalo.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Just make one brief comment. I'm Terry George, President and CEO of the Harold Cale Castle Foundation.
Hi, Terry.
And just wanted to share briefly that we have reviewed both the deed restriction that was put on in the early 60s when it was donated. And then we've modified it to allow these additional charitable uses and uses that seem to fit for the community. And as with your new neighborhood board member, I too believe that it seems to be within the spirit of keeping it for the community, and I'm kind of excited once we get more into the details.
Well, then you answered my question. So thank you very much. All right, moving on to resident community concerns. There are three on here from board members representing concerns. Before we get to those, are there any other community concerns that you'd like to talk about? Auntie Rocky, anybody on the TV? Okay.
I have a question, because I'm on the Kahaluu neighborhood board. Coming here tonight, everything is locked up. Why? The don't, I mean, we gotta park all the way down there, even if you have handicap. So don't you pay a fee to use the area?
You bring up a very good point. This is going to be our second to last meeting at Ben Parker Elementary. They don't have the staff to support us here anymore, so one of our duties is to find a new place. Do you have a recommendation?
I know the library is closed, and that's a shame because our kids can't even go there, but maybe you might try Winter Community College.
Okay.
And talk to artists. That'd be a perfect place. There's ample parking. You don't get locked in.
Okay, good. We'll look into that. Mahalo. What's that? Yeah, Cecil. It's great for the board. I don't know if it's for the whole community. Any other community concerns? All right, we have three on the agenda. One has to do with the handy van and paratransit. Mr. Sakamoto, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you for putting out the agenda for tonight. As a paratransit handy van user since 2000 to present, it's about 24 years. I never experienced a paratransit handy van with this much difficulty. It is a Sunset Transit vehicle. It's a 2400 series bought in 2024. The city has bought 29 of these vans from Department of Transportation Services for all transit services. The stairway, first landing is easy to get on. The second stair is more than 8 inches high. It's not a normal stairway like a paratransit cutaway that we use or the bus. And then when I got onto the top of the stop stairs, there was a booster seat next to the driver's seat. I'm gonna put you in the front because there's 2 people in the back, and it was too crowded for me to go in the back. When I was going up the stairs, there was no handrails easy to access because the doorway is so shallow, not wide enough. Sliding door. And when you get to the seat, there's no armrest, just a 3-point seat belt. When I was going to Honolulu for the dedication of the city council sworn in by Esther Kayana and other council members, I was dropped off at Punch Bowl by State Library. So it's at Honolulu. As I was coming down from the stairs, I missed that big stairway and I tripped. And luckily the driver was able to catch me before I would have fell between the driveway of the roadway and the sidewalk. I was lucky that the driver was able to catch somebody that, that is pretty heavy, but was able to secure me. I did write a customer complaint to Handyman's customer delivery on January 3rd. It has been forwarded to investigation. I told him I want an investigation about how these vans are dangerous for even people who have service animals like guide dogs will not go up there. They have to go in the back of a lift on the roadway. I have brought this up many times to Department of Transportation Services as the chair of the Committee for Accessible Transportation to give advice to Roger Martin, Department of Transportation Services. In fact, Director Martin was able to talk to me before the ceremony at that day on January 2nd. And the first thing he said, how come the driver didn't put you in the back? And I told him why. It was overcrowded. It had 2 passengers. The van doesn't hold that many. 1 wheelchair, maybe 3 people. It's not accessible. So I would urge the city to investigate and get better vehicles and listen to the consumers like myself as well as the operators, because they know what is going on in the front line. And I hope Andy Kawano can express my concerns to the mayor.
Sounds like what you've just brought up, that information has already gone to the right folks, and Andy's here, so he'll have a chance. He's already had a chance to hear it again for a second time, so that's great, I think. Thanks for
appreciate-
providing that report.
Thank you.
Next is Vice Chair Lamb wanted to talk about voter service centers.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, my concern is about the lack of, or the minimal amount of voter service centers that we have during the elections. There are only two on election day, on November 5th. I was one of the observers that was there at 12:04 a.m., November 6th, when the last vote was cast. Thousands of people are still in line. They waited for 5 hours, and that wasn't just the people that came at 7 o'clock the last minute. There were people there at noon that didn't vote until 6 or 7 hours later. It's wholly inadequate to have very few voter service centers like that. And even with the one here in Kaneohe, I do vote at that one, but I have to vote a week ahead before the election is done. And I think voters have a right to make a decision with all the information they want to at the time until election day. And I think we need more voter service centers. We've gone back and forth from the election commission on, how many can they have? We get different answers. Election commission says, or the Office of Elections at the state says, oh, it's up to the county. The county says they have no limitations, but I think if the county can actually request for it and put at least, 10 more voter service, 5 to 10 more voter service centers for Honolulu, I think that would work well. And I'll say that, with the numbers, it might look like 5% voted in person at the voter service centers, but if you actually look at the voting population, it was nearly 10% who wanted to vote in person. I think it'd be a lot more if more were available. So I'm asking if, what the board would also consider that as part of the amendment, as amendment to the later board business, but that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
Chair, if I may, I have a very quick comment on that. I'm trying to get the number, but legislation has been introduced on that specific issue currently.
ask and ye shall receive.
Chair.
Yes.
I would like to elaborate what Adriel said also. Besides the voter centers, as a disabled person, they only had 2 accessible machines for us to use. There needs to be more machines for the disabled, especially the blind, if they want to do it, or with other print disabled people, so they can do it privately without somebody marking their ballots. Just want to elaborate.
Thank you. Red light traffic cameras. Can we add one at the intersection of Kahikili and Kahuhipa Street? This Itavis. Is he here?
If I may, I can do that one quickly too. We have asked the DOT for that in the past, in letters. So let me go follow up on that. We made that specific request prior to this meeting to the DOT.
Beautiful. Senator's on the ball.
Thank you. Jared from Congress.
All right, moving into elected officials' reports, except for Senator Keoho Kalole, who is first off. We have U.S. Representative Jill Takuda. Is there a representative online? I think there is.
Yes, there is. Aloha, Chair and members of the board. I'm Michelle Nguyen Yang, scheduler and office manager for Congresswoman Jill Takuda. I just moved to Kaneohe myself about a couple months ago. So tonight I'll just be reading some highlights from our January neighborhood board report, and then I'll email it over to the chair as well. And at the end, I'm happy to take down notes on any questions to bring back to Representative Takuda and the office. So just a couple quick updates. We recently moved our district office downtown, just a few blocks up from our former location, to 1001 Bishop Street, ASB Tower, Suite 1503. And then some updates on Congresswoman work in DC. So legislation from the 118th Congress that was enacted by and passed and signed by President Biden So there's HR 8219, the Lahaina National Heritage Area Study, which will direct the National Park Service in consultation with state and local partners to study the feasibility of a National Heritage Area designation for Lahaina. Also, HR 8909 to name the Captain Cook Post Office on Hawaii Island after First Lieutenant John Kuole Kahaihau, who was killed in action in Vietnam. Then President Biden signed a Federal Disaster Tax Relief Act into law, which included language from Representative Takuda and Senator Hirono's Natural Disaster Tax Relief Act of 2023 to make it easier for Maui fire victims to deduct disaster-related losses by eliminating the minimum of 10% loss threshold, as well as the requirement to itemize deductions to receive this tax benefit. Related to the fiscal year 2025 appropriation bills, Congress passed a short-term continuing resolution to extend federal government funding through March 14th, 2025. Last update, we just want to say thank you to all the students who applied for Military Service Academy nominations. Applicants have been notified about whether they will receive a nomination from our office, and we'll be making this public in a press release in late January. And I'm happy to take any questions to note down and bring back to the office if anyone has any.
Any questions for Rep. Takuda's office? Beautiful. Welcome. Hope to see you again next month.
Thank you.
Sorry?
I do have one.
Okay. Hold on. We have one question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to Kaneohe. Thanks for
Thank
moving
you.
over here. I did ask the representative's office before if she would have an office here in Kaneohe. I see that you moved to somewhere else, but hopefully we can see you around more or see you around here to maybe open our office here in Kaneohe too.
We really tried to, but there's no office spaces. If y'all know of an office space, so I'm going to leave my email because we would love to be in Kaneohe. Just there's nothing when we looked the last few months, and that's why we're still downtown. But if you know something, send me an email.
All right. I'll look for it. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to Governor Green's representative. Is there someone here from Governor Green's office?
Hi, aloha, Chair Radke, members of the board. Oh,
Hey, what's happening?
hey, aloha.
Iko mamai.
Mahalo, Chair, members, good to see you all. Aloha. Also want to send my aloha to Senator Keohakalole, Representatives Matayoshi, Lee, Kitagawa, and if there are any other folks in the room that I can't see, aloha to you all. Ilihia Johnson from the Hawaii Tourism Authority on behalf of the Green Administration. The main update I wanted to share with you all was a question that came up over the last couple of meetings about the AES State Park and the ability to reserve space in the hall. So DLNR is happy to report that they have issued a revocable permit to an organization called Halau Nohona Hawaii. It's a month-to-month permit to manage the banquet hall and the facilities over at AES State Park. They expect that to be up and running on March 1st, 2025, and they anticipate additional information about how to reserve spaces to be coming up in February sometime. So good news on that front. Unfortunately,
And
though,
before we move on to the next topic, the chair of BLNR is here. Do you concur?
I concur. Mahalo for the update. I just wanted to also provide an update to that. So it went to the board last week, Friday. We did have some community concerns about this entity and so it was a 1-year revocable permit. So what we did do is we've issued, we're going to issue Halau Nohona Hawaii a month-to-month or 6 months. And DLNR is to go back and look at a longer-term disposition, an RFP that can be opened out to the general public, so others to come in. That's the only. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Continue, please.
Mahalo nui, Chair. Those are all the updates I have on that front, and unfortunately, I have to bid my aloha to you all. I will be leaving state service at the end of this month. It's been a pleasure getting to know you all. here at the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board. My replacement will be Diane Ako. You may recognize her from TV news. She's been a Kaneohe resident for 20-something years now. She has recently taken a position at the Department of Accounting and General Services. So she will be the administration's liaison to this particular neighborhood board, starting with next month's meeting. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it tonight because of a previous obligation. But my mahalo to all of you for welcoming me in, and mahalo nui.
Sorry to see you go so soon. We really enjoyed having you here. Thank you for your service and best of luck to you in your future.
Mahalo.
Any questions for the governor's representative? Lovely. Moving on to the mayor's representative. Andy, I see that you're here.
Happy New Year, Mayor Radke, board members, Andy Kawano, Director Designate of Budget and Fiscal Services, City and County of Honolulu. Got a short report today. Posted at www.honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. Newsletter has a lot of good articles, including Calvin Say's retirement from the city after nearly 5 decades of public service. A recap of the siting of the proposed landfill that we're still going to go through more public outreach, more study and research with the Board of Water Supply on that one. And the $2 million grant for affordable housing development in Ivalai. So moving along, priorities of the mayor. With regard to the 2025-2027 board elections for the neighborhood board, just want to note, if no one brought it up, that the key dates to be a candidate for a board member: Friday, February 1st, 2025. Candidate and voter filing deadline happens Friday, April 25th, 2025. Voting begins, and then Friday, May 16th, 2025, voting ends. City is still seeking qualified candidates for the Ocean Safety Commission. So keep an eye out on that if you're interested. Probably the most important duties of the commission will be to appoint the Ocean Safety Chief, reviewing the annual budget as prepared by the chief, making recommendations on the budget, reviewing the Ocean Safety Department's operations as deemed necessary, and evaluating at least annually, the performance of the Ocean Safety Chief, and submitting a report on the evaluation. These responsibilities are very similar to the police commission. With regard to parking, last time Auntie Rocky raised concerns regarding the lack of parking for city hall meetings. I haven't been able to make any advances there. I still have a few more people I can talk to. Still looking into that, and I think I'll leave it at that. Take questions.
After council member Kiaina, then we'll do we do the combined Q&A.
Thank you.
No questions yet. Oh, it was a cockroach. Oh, never mind. Stop it. Yes, please.
Okay.
Mahalo. Welcome.
Aloha and good evening.
We have a cockroach here, so there's a controversy, a little bit of a controversy. Okay.
Just so it doesn't fly here.
Okay, we're pal.
As Donald mentioned, we had our inauguration recently. And so my new committees will be since we finished the land use ordinance and Calvin Say left, I will be the new chair for the zoning committee and vice chair of the Committee on Public Safety, which I have always wanted to be on. Just given disaster preparedness, fire mitigation, what we're doing with fireworks, et cetera. I did note that you guys have a couple of items and I wanted to talk about it. First is our dog park by Bayview. And with regard to the name, the reason I'm not saying it, which is Kahua o Waikalua, is because no one had a say in the naming of that park. Someone from a city agency saw it somewhere and decided to just put it in all the documents. And so the reason I'm saying this is that at the appropriate time, the board and the hui, should they want to change it, then we're going to go through a formal process of changing it. In any event, as you probably know, we opened it on December 18th, and the hours are 7 to 7 p.m. and it's closed on Thursday from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. It was very difficult, and I apologize for taking so long, but it required the completion of an easement by the city in Bayview. But more importantly, it required the voluntary realignment of the golf course. And it's not a city golf course, it's a private golf course. And we had to get Bayview to voluntarily realign it. There is still some outstanding money that is owed to them. And so I will work with the dog hui to, Windward Dog Hui to potentially have a golf tournament or something to help defray the costs. Looking to seek the kokua of my state colleagues, as well as any neighborhood board members who golf or who would know people who would like to golf, so we can kokua and mahalo Bayview for doing this to us, for doing this for us. With regard to the, I saw you also have the wedding on Lilipuna Road, Aloha Wedding. So I have some good news and I have some measured news. The good news is that moving forward, with regard to Bill 64, updating the land use ordinance, which I worked for the last 2 years on, there is a provision, the mayor signed it on January 3rd. There is a provision that will henceforth prohibit weddings from being a home occupation, including wedding ceremonies and receptions. The measured news, and I'm not saying it's bad news because it's measured, is that I did have a meeting, of course, to get a status from the Department of Planning and Permitting. And so what they are doing now is not prohibited, but there are parameters, and the parameters are these. Oh. I'm sorry. Maybe. The updated parameters is that they are only supposed to have 10 guests or less, no outside employees, no amplified sound, and no off-site parking. The guests are supposed to park on the property. A DEP has instructed me to tell the community that if there are any violations of anything that I just mentioned, then you can contact them. Oh, yes. Okay. I actually didn't see it until I was preparing that you guys had it on today's agenda. And then real quickly on the fireworks, you know, we introduced the bill, and I know a lot of people told me, what am I doing? And I do things like that. But it didn't make any sense to me that the city ordinance is misaligned with the state, right? I mean, they're telling us we can only do misdemeanors, but they get to do misdemeanors and Class C felonies. They can have maximum five years jail, up to $5,000, and we're limited to 1 year in jail and $2,000. So we introduced a bill to do that. We are being challenged, but it is triggering a dialogue. We did have a hearing today to just talk about enforcement. And between the prosecutor's office and HPD, they basically said this, where they need to help, apart from the interdiction at the courts, of course, is that the definitions of the current laws on the books, especially at the state, need to be changed to make it easier for HPD to enforce. And so they recommended that they sought our support to try to encourage that. And of course, the city will align. So I just wanted to update you on that. And lastly, I know there's a lot about the landfill. I've already briefed both Kailua and Waimanalo, and I will do so. My message is, do not take it for granted that just because the mayor has announced the site at Wahiawa, that is where it's going to be, clearly, because of the adamant opposition from not just a lot of the community, but also the Board of Water Supply director. At a recent hearing, he showed us a map that he considers a no-pass zone, 77% of the island. The 23% of the island is in our district. Mokapu Boulevard, all along Mokapu, Peninsula, all the way along the coastline in Kailua, as well as Waimanalo. And so they had, in previous reports, identified 7 sites on the windward side, and I'm going to say it real quickly. 2 off of Kapa'a Quarry, 1 area near Castle Junction, Pali Highway, 1 area occupied the Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility in Olamana School, an area near Waimanalo Country Farms, Pali Golf Course, and Royal Hawaiian Golf Course. Those 2 were taken off, and I know now why, and it's because the minimum threshold is about 150 acres. But the reason I'm mentioning this is that there are 2 lenses that people are looking at. First, the no-pass zone. Second is Act 17. Is it Act 17? 73 at the state, which prohibits lands that are half a mile, a buffer zone, from schools, hospitals, or residences, and in the conservation district. All of the sites that I have cited are in Act 73. So what is it going to take for us to be back on the chopping block? And it would be a modification to that. So all of the lawmakers for the windward side, we are uniting with the neighborhood boards, and I'm soliciting the support from the community as well, that we have to be mobilized. Moving to the legislators, you're going to open that up, that we do everything to ensure that we oppose it, but to also make sure that we strengthen our narrative to explain why these sites should not be considered. The Kailua Neighborhood Board has established a permit interaction group. They did it in December. And I would encourage that there be members interested here to work together with that group, as well as with the Waimanalo Neighborhood Board. This is a priority for me. So a matter of equity. And Director Babcock has actually said that Kailua has already had its share of landfills. And even if a lot of people think that it's so easy to place it down here, like the windward side, you guys don't have any troubles, right? I think that we need to be better informed of what is going on, and just to make sure we do our due diligence, look at all of the sites, and just be prepared should Senator Kiohokolole and our other colleagues need us to go and help them at the legislature. And that is my report for this evening.
Excellent. Mahalo. Any questions for the governor's, the city, the mayor's representative, and council member Kia Aina? I see Auntie Rocky. I see Cecil. I see Vice Chair. Let's go there. We'll start with Auntie Rocky.
First of all, I'd like to thank Esther for correcting that woman that criticized our language. Thank you, Esther. You did a good job. Mahalo. But I want to talk about the parking that I brought up in the last meeting, because I had to sit through a parking in the parking lot to experience this. The last Department of Land and Natural Resource meeting was in December. which I attended, and I had a 9-hour wait and wasn't heard. So the parking lot gives you 2 hours. It's supposed to be 4 hours, but evidently the Department of Land and Natural Resources doesn't work. They fixed the capital one, it works. So I put in my thing, but I was there now. Look at this, 9 hours. My card could, my bank wouldn't allow my card to go anymore in there. So lucky, that's the first time my daughter-in-law had vacation, so she came with me. She came up, I gave her my card. She said, your card's not working. I said, there's money in my card. Can you use yours? Now, I'm saying this because we, the public, is using this, right? This last time I went, last Friday, to the DLNR meeting, I had a 7-hour wait. And by the way, when they told me I had to wait because their agenda was long and I had to come back to the next meeting, even though our Here State Park was next. And I had a conversation with Wayne Tanaka, who was there for the water. And he talked about, yeah, I had a ticket before. So he was there in testifying. Then there was a break. He went down to the break and he looked mad coming up with a ticket because he couldn't get down to put PD's meter because he's testifying. Okay, so this time I'm sitting in there. As I said, I'm not going to put any money. I'm going to sit in my car because as soon as I walked in, the chair told me, oh, I'm sorry, we moved you up. So Here State Park is in the afternoon, not in the morning. I said, okay, so I got another couple hours. I got to wait. I sat in the car and I saw 2 DAGS persons walking by, and one person that works in, I guess, in the DLNR was telling them, my car is there. They just said, okay. But you know what? I didn't get angry because I got friends and family that work with DLNR and they get tickets all the time. I can't afford it. It's $46 automatic parking ticket. I'm on a fixed income. I had how many last year going to hearings? I'm saying this because I want to go to the hearings with the city. There's 1 handicap parking. Public parking is a block away. There's, I think, 10 parking for the public. Then I go this time and I see there's a shade. They put new shade between the Department of Land and Natural Resources and City Hall, maybe 25, 30 feet. If they can afford to do that, why not make a parking lot for the public and for their public workers? I remember he took away the parking lot that was between those buildings and saying to plant grass because there's ample parking at the palace grounds. I think it's twisted. We're the only palace in the whole United States. Put the parking back between those 2 buildings because everybody testifies there and we need the parking. You want public to be engaged, then give us the parking. But I had to sit there to watch it. And then one lady says, it's not working for me. I was sitting in my car. I said, why? She said, did it work for you? I said, yes. So one lady that works at the DLNR said, oh, sometimes it doesn't work. But there's another box way down the other side with the exit. I didn't know that. Then when she left, I said, I better go because my hearing is up. When I put my card in, it worked. So the lady said it works for some people, but not other people. So I'm saying to all of our elected officials, the government and the mayor's office, fix it. You want community engagement, fix it. I think we're being ripped off. Mahalo.
I forgot the order.
Right.
Oh, see, yeah, Vice Chair, then Cecil.
Very real quick. Yeah, I just want to thank council members, their city's rep. You know, we had a great Kāne Christmas parade and it's good response to get those, especially that pothole at the at Kāne Bay and Kamehameha. Got and then finally got the intersection paved. So that's thanks for pushing that or putting pressure on that. And also another note was that tree grove in Kāne Stream that's gone. So thanks for continuing to keep watch of that and make sure that that's being maintained for us. Thanks.
Cecil.
Yes, sir. I want to thank you for a very nice briefing, by the way. And I'd also like to know if you can give me the information I might need to collaborate with the Kailua board so that I can sort of help push the agenda that you were discussing earlier go ahead.
I would be glad to do that. Should I send it through you, Mo?
Is it you talking about the landfill?
Information.
Sure.
for the- Yeah, and the three members who are on the permitted injunction. I'm not, I normally don't try to panic people, but in this case, because the legislature will move fast, we have to be ready. And I already talked to Director Babcock. I want to do a site visit of all of the sites, and we make our own assessment as well. And, you know, even if you go a case by case, for example, the youth correctional facility, they just got awarded a $25 million grant, private grant. And it was for the innovative approaches they take to our incarcerated youth. And they're actually master planning. So, you know, it's so easy to go look on the map, right? And say, all of this is off limit. So let's go look at these other properties. We just need to amend Act 73, right? Easy, right? Without knowing the stories of those lands, the importance to those communities. And the fact that they're willing to entertain perhaps amending it so there's no buffer, including to residential communities, that just can't happen. But we need to be prepared. So thank you for your offer.
Any other questions?
So,
She's going to send the information to me. I'll send it to the board.
okay, great.
And we can't create a pig today, but we will be able to put it on the agenda and create one next month.
Okay, thank you.
Andy, about the parking. I don't really have any other questions except is there any way forward?
I think one thing that's still a positive dynamic is that our governor and mayor are working together. They're tight. So I think we work through that to find out if we can do something because it'll benefit both the state and the city, you know, in terms of getting public involved, you know, in government and, you know, allowing them to participate on some of the major issues we have.
Yeah, I don't know how much money the parking stall makes, but I think if somebody were coming to testify, to wait to testify for 7 or 5 or 3 hours, that's unsatisfactory. I think if you register to testify on a topic, then you register and then you get a parking pass submitted as part of your registration and you don't have to feed the meter. I don't know if the meters are that much of a moneymaker, but it might be a better way to get people to talk. This is just a suggestion.
Understood. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Malo. All right.
Chair.
And then Neil. Okay. Mr. Sakamoto, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. There were two questions for Andy Kawano. Andy, on the agenda, it was talked about the stream. We talked about this before by Kaneki Street. Part of it has been cleaned by Department of Facility Maintenance, but you know, we're heading towards hurricane season again. I just want to make sure that you can check into that, make sure it's going to be cleaned over there. And then another one was the Raceway Park. The mayor announced that in March of last year that he has secured 400 acres of land in, I guess, Barbers Point someplace from the U.S. Interior. We'd like update status so we can get a Raceway Park to get these speeding cars on our interstate highways to go over there instead of on our highways. And earlier I just mentioned about the handy van. I think you can check into that. And last of all these, Dale Carson talked about the 911 calls in November 21st at our last meeting, and you were going to check into that. And I brought up a 911 call again. It was a long time, more than 20 minutes. Had to wait for on the December 20th.
Will do. Yeah, there's still some investigation going. You're talking about the HPD, the 911 number, right, going down?
Right.
Okay, I'll report on that during the next meeting because they were investigating it. And then I'll get more details on the Raceway Park. There's a lot of interest in Kapolei for that Raceway Park, and but there's a lot of work to do to get it going. So I'll find out what the timeline looks like.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Esther, for the follow-up on Ali Shore's wedding. And if you'll send me that, I'll send it to the neighborhood who is very concerned. I just want to make a statement about fireworks and, we all know, and we've listened to HPD dodge every question tonight. We've listened to fire department pretend like it wasn't part of their issue as well. When clearly there are the same organization that makes up the National Electric Code use of fireworks, including setbacks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I find it fascinating that the fire department has never once in their tip of the month mentioned the safe use of fireworks, but I digress. I'd like to thank Esther and her efforts for trying to get the county's laws up to snuff with regard to the state laws. That's certainly very important. And I think your one statement about it is truly obvious that it's a lack of written law that allows for the direct enforcement of, so that the police department can actually do something. I could have said to the captain, say, hey, look, what about the guys that are just setting off their fireworks right in the middle of the street? You could patrol and do something, but they really do not have there's just too much latitude in the law. And so what we need to do is work on being very, very explicit about what the laws actually are and what the police is supposed to do.
Real quickly, first of all, thank you. The good news was critically important for us. If you've read in the news, he just got nominated to be the state's new director for law enforcement. So what we talked about today, everyone concurs that one of the reasons they're unable to prosecute is because they're not able to get them, right? And part of the problem, and so it's frustrating for HPD and everybody because the manner of how the language is written is not easy for them to prosecute. And so with him over there, he's going to provide that leadership. He's actually drafting the language. So he's going to be working with us and then of course with the state. And so I think that it was fortunate because he's been lead at the city and now he's going to, yeah. And I was actually joking outside with my Ava that it would be wonderful if she can go over there and help him. Anyway.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving along to Senator Keohou Kalole.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, and everyone from Kāne. Aloha, Happy New Year. So I don't want to go maybe too much further on the fireworks issue, but there are a number of bills at the state level that are being introduced. We opened yesterday. Please call my office if you have any questions or you need help with any bills. Happy to work with you all on tracking, on getting information. Things move quickly during the legislative session, so please don't wait for the meeting. If something comes to mind, just reach out. Donald does almost every day, so feel free to. The governor has come out with a number of proposals related to fireworks from the fireworks task force. The specifics of them, some of them were mentioned by Esther that even I wasn't aware of because I haven't been keeping everyday contact, detailed attention on it. But essentially in 2020 and in 2021, I authored legislation, and many other legislators have to pursue the governor's approach, which is to decriminalize the possession and the lighting penalty and basically turn it into a traffic ticket because the standard is lower. You don't have the same evidentiary requirements that the police are talking about, that the officer was talking about at the beginning of the meeting. When you have a civil offense, like a speeding ticket, it's a civil infraction, for example, versus a criminal offense. That the person who is charged committed the offense, that if they possessed it, there is evidence that can be shown to a jury to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they possessed that illegal firework, that they were the person that lit the firework that caused the explosion. So when these officers hear a neighbor complained, there's a neighbor down the street who's setting off fireworks, you know, and they roll up 10 minutes later. Sometimes they know who the knucklehead in the neighborhood is, and then they can put eyes on the house. But, you know, New Year's Eve, it's pretty much impossible to figure out who on Waikalua Road causing the neighbor to be upset. So one of the ideas that we put forward was to just lower the penalty to make it easier for the police officer when they arrive on the scene and they just, you know, they have good knowledge that the person that they are in front of committed the infraction, cite them, make them spend a half a day in court defending themselves. Maybe they beat the charge, maybe not. They've lost a half a day, including the civil fine. The prosecutor's office opposed it in 2020 and 2021. We moved in a different direction, which was to propose an undercover unit that the state would basically appropriate money to HPD to fund, similar to the Sting proposal that's being put forward at the legislature this year as well. The HPD testified at the legislature in 2022 on that measure, and they opposed it. They asked that we not grant the money because there were other priorities at the time. The point is that the attention that's being brought on fireworks this year, I think, is very critical for actual movement on this issue, because year after year, fireworks sustained attention at the legislature on it. Sometimes they fall by the wayside, and ideas that have been proposed in the past, you know, they just keep getting recycled. This might be the year where several of them are ready to go and there's enough community support to make them happen. And then the dynamic changes a little bit, and then we see whether it works or not. But it's pretty clear to me and at least many of my other colleagues at the legislature that we should do something and that we should have done it a while ago. Well, so Hawaii Loa campus, you know, I appreciate the director for coming to brief everyone on it. Originally, the idea was to move the Department of Health's headquarters out here because their headquarters building, you know, between Queens Hospital and the state legislature needs to be replaced. They need to tear that building down. It's old. They have asbestos in there.
Parking.
And it's just a bear to deal with. So the original idea was to move the Department of Health out to the campus and to have the DLNR utilize some of the other spaces, state parks pick up the fields and the tennis court. Because of the restrictive covenants that it basically just didn't work out. So we've been at this for about a year. The DLNR is at the point where they can move forward with their due diligence. And so the timing is good to have them come and present. If you guys have other questions, you know, Don lives in Kaneohe, we can get in touch with them. And I do hope that the board stays engaged on this and provides feedback going forward. I just texted Artis Eschenberg about the meeting space. So I'm happy to help facilitate that. I didn't realize this Ben Parker situation is just not tenable anymore. Disappointing, but if you guys do want to move, then I'm happy to help. 2 landfill bills to watch, at least on the Senate side. We're still doing bill introduction that goes till the middle of next week. But on the Senate side, SB 446, SB 446, and SB 438. They both propose to prohibiting the siting of a landfill above an aquifer, which is not something that I generally disagree with. The concern is that along the way throughout the process, the bill is amended and potentially the provisions in Act 73 get scaled back. So to Council Member Kia Aina's point, those are at least 2 measures to watch if you're familiar with, you know, signing up at the legislature and getting notifications on whether bills are scheduled for hearing. I would recommend putting those on your list and keeping an eye on them. And then I'm still the Commerce Committee Chair in the Senate. Main priorities are housing, the insurance crisis, which we are working on legislation to try and deal with. We've talked about that. And I'm still working on invasive species. There's a briefing tomorrow that's going to be on YouTube around invasive species. I'm still very frustrated with the Department of Agriculture, but there are a number of different ideas that are circulating right now that I think are going to hopefully change the dynamic and help us make some progress. Happy to take questions, I guess, after everyone else. Thank you.
Senator Ava. Awa.
Um,
Hi, I can hear you.
Hi. Great. Hello, Kaneohe Neighborhood Board, and Happy New Year. I'm Elizabeth Tatofi Tabake. I'm Senator Watt's office manager. Legislative session started yesterday, still here in the Capitol. Happy to give Senator Watt's report. Yesterday marked, again, like as I mentioned, yesterday marked the opening day of the legislative session. And we have a few legislative updates to share with you. See, last session, Senator Watt reintroduced the About Time bill to prohibit foreign ownership of land in Hawaii. Unfortunately, the bill was altered into a study and ultimately blocked in the House. Thank you, Senator Kilkolole, for hearing the bill in CPN. And this session, we are introducing two separate bills this time after sitting down, regrouping, meeting with a few people. We have Senate Bill 1 that's already been assigned a number. That's Senate Bill 1. This bill seeks to prohibit foreign entities from purchasing agricultural land in Hawaii, aligning with similar legislation already enacted in 24 other states. And then the second bill that has not yet been assigned a number, this measure would ban foreign ownership of land within 10 miles of military installations, further safeguarding our local interests. Beyond legislative efforts, we recently met with key stakeholders involved in the Alawai Canal cleanup. They used I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but they had used the Genki balls containing organic, effective microorganisms to improve the water quality. We've had several meetings with them, and according to them, it's proven to be successful, but they're still collecting data on that. Building on that success, we're trying to develop a program to introduce these microorganisms directly into the cesspools, targeting a major source of pollution. This initiative aims to provide a long-term solution for improving our community water quality, and not to mention just so much more cheaper. That's just a quick update for today. We'll probably have more legislative updates next month with more bills that we're pushing, and more bills that we're probably not supporting, but that will probably be for next month. Thank you for your continued support and engagement. And I'd also like to thank the board for having us at the Christmas parade last year. I'm a born and raised Kaneohe resident up Pahio Road, across of Kaneohe Market. Went to Benjamin Parker. That was my first time in the Christmas parade. I've always been down there where it used to be L&L and then M&W, and now a pho restaurant. Always sitting outside, watching the parade, family members constantly in the parade. My dad was in Kapena, my brother's Josh Satofi. They've always been in the Kaneohe Christmas parade. So I, for the first time, was able to tell them that I too was in the Christmas parade.
Awesome. Thank you for the report. Just stick around for Q&A. Next is Rep. Kitagawa.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. As everyone has mentioned previously, we had opening day at the Ledge yesterday, and so we are starting our next session. This year, I have a new responsibility in the House. So I now oversee all of the capital improvement projects, or CIPs, for the House. And so I'm still serving on the Finance Committee, but have that new role. And then I'm still a member of the Housing and Transportation Committee. So looking forward to learning and hearing about all of those bills. And I know there are numerous conversations that have taken place during this meeting about fireworks and other issues. And so I'll just leave it at that and be open to answer any questions that people might have after. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Representative Matayoshi.
Hi, aloha, everyone. Yeah, opening day started. Like Rep. Kitagawa, I have a new role. I will be the House Consumer Protection and Commerce Chair. So Jarrett's my counterpart in the Senate. After the fireworks tragedy happened, I started working on a couple of different bills for fireworks. One of them is going to do as Esther is requesting of the city. I've been working with HPD, Department of Law Enforcement, Prosecutor's Office, AG's office, to develop a bill to simplify the fireworks definition, and also which will make it easier to prosecute on the felony and misdemeanor level, but also to both create a lower, more parking ticket-ish violation, as Senator Keokalole said, and also to raise it from a felony C to a felony B if there are a more significant amount of fireworks, so 50 pounds or more, so that we don't see, we'll hopefully never see a tragedy like we had in New Year's again. The second bill is to fund sting operations on the for fireworks, both on the buyer and the seller side. Department of Law Enforcement had been doing sting operations on for sellers, but they had never been doing them for buyers. And I really feel that if people are more afraid to buy fireworks or to sell fireworks, if there might be a police officer on the other side, we're going to see at least a reduction in fireworks. And sting operations also set up the eventual prosecution for these cases a lot better than trying to just find someone on the street. The last thing I'm going to be doing, and I'm already working with the mayor's office with this, and Oceanet, which is a tech firm here. There's a technology developed here in Hawaii to trace, for the military, to trace sniper fire. So it's tracing infrared heat signatures from snipers to locate exactly where they are. That can be repurposed very easily to determine where fireworks are being launched from. If that technology is mounted on drones, I mean, we're talking a little more of a high-tech solution here, but we can identify exactly where fireworks are being fired off and direct police officers accordingly. I don't think that it's going to be used for prosecution. I don't think that the technology is that good yet. Although there was a 2019 bill that we might be able to use for that. But right now it's just kind of going to be on kind of a pilot basis. But I'm meeting with the mayor and Oceanet next month to talk about that project. HPD, I believe, will be supportive. And HPD has been supportive along with Department of Law Enforcement of the sting operations this go around. So I'm really hoping to get that off the ground as well. As CPC chair, I'm working on, just like Jarrett, I'm working on a number of condo bills. For condo insurance, we're really looking for long-term solutions here too. There is a short-term crisis that needs to be addressed, but long-term, we've got to get these condos up and running, fixed, repiped with sprinklers in order to get their condo insurance down. So just to make them naturally less risky to insure. So we're going to be doing a couple of bills with that. And lastly, I've been trying to deal with feral chickens forever, I feel like. But with the rise of bird flu, it's become even more of a crisis. So I will be introducing a bill to make it easier for people to deal with feral chickens on their own private property. And I also wanted to offer that my office has contacts to get rid of feral chickens on private property for Kaneohe residents. So if you have feral chickens on your property that you'd like taken care of, give my office a call. I can send our guy down to deal with that for you for free. And with that, I'll take any questions.
I'd like to welcome Representative Mike Lee.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm not in a place where I can turn the camera on, but I'd like to thank the chair, the vice chair, and the board for having me. It's starting to become a regular thing, obviously at a new spot. And, going last on the list means everyone's talked about all of my talking points. But I thought I'd introduce myself very briefly. For those of you who don't know, District 50 does encompass a majority of Kailua, but it does start in Kaneohe by the Marine Corps base, and it goes right up until Mokulele. So it is a significant portion of Kaneohe. So I was going to talk a little bit about the dog park. I do want to reemphasize what Esther said. The Windward legislators are going to band together. We are of the same mind and thought that the Windward side we do our part. We've done our part with tourism. We pay for a rail that will never come here. But, just because it looks good on a map, it doesn't mean that a landfill should go here. Of course, as everyone else said, we've been talking about fireworks. This year I'm on the finance committee. I'm the vice chair of labor. I'm on the culture and arts committee. And I think one thing that's new with the legislature this year, of course, with leadership, but also is the fact that almost the majority of your legislators are now either new or have only been there for a few years. So it's very important that Kaneohe has Senator Keho Kolole, Scott, and Lisa as their legislators, because there's a lot of senior leadership there, and I look forward to learning and growing with them. Our office has been working on finance, getting ready to go. We are taking a look at some public safety issues as it relates to making it a little bit easier to enforce, issues with homelessness in terms of being near schools and waterways as it relates to public safety and public health. We're looking at e-bikes and invasive species in Kaneohe Bay. But what I'll do is I'm going to email my contact information, my email and our office number to the board, and I'll be at the next meeting. And that way, we can start to circulate that in Kaneohe as well. And as always, you're always, please feel free to welcome you to call my office. But yeah, I'll take questions with everyone else. Thank you.
Since we are over time, I will have at this point all questions emailed to me from the board, and I'll email them directly to the representatives so we can at least get through this agenda for tonight. So thanks everyone for their endurance as usual. And moving on to community organizations. Is Windward Community College here? Auntie Rocky, do you have a question? Announcement? Okay, coming up to announcements in just a second. Board business, we have the approval of the November 2024 minutes. Everybody's had a copy of those in front of them. Everybody's had a chance to see those. Are there any changes or amendments to those minutes?
Just one that I was present.
You
present.
So Keone was
Marked
listed as absent, but he was marked as present, or he needs to be marked as present. Okay, we'll make that change. Anyone else? Motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion to accept was made and seconded without objection. Those minutes are approved. Moving on to, well, we have a discussion and possible voting on a good government reforms bill. Brought this up. You did. Yeah, let's.
Okay,
let's
try to be
see-
real
let's-
quick. I mean, I emailed everybody the reso ahead of time. Should I have time to look at it? Essentially, it's generally about having things flow transparently and cleanly through the legislature. Some of the key points, just to be real quick, is instead of one of the recommended actions is that committees would vote on which bills would be heard and which ones wouldn't, instead of the committee chair just deciding on their own to defer things. That's kind of the biggest one. There's some other things in there. Like I said, you all got a copy. I know Mo also sent out a second copy, which was Kailua's one, which they passed. I will say that this reso in many different forms, but similar to the Kailua one, was passed by at least 10 different boards already, including Kailua. And I think that there was more that's heard since the last I looked into it. But yeah, I don't know if you guys had any questions or have had a chance to take a look.
Well, first of all, he's introduced. Right. You're introducing.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I guess I can make a motion to pass it, actually, to support it.
Second. Okay, now we discuss.
Okay, yeah, part of discussion. I wasn't sure if I, was supposed to do this on the email. I think we're supposed to do it here at the board, but yeah, so I'm glad Senator Jarrett Keokole mentioned the voter service center legislation going forward. I'd like to add that as one of the recommendations as amendment to the resolution to add that mention the legislation, proposed legislation on voter service centers.
Onto this resolution?
Onto this resolution.
What's the language of it then?
I think the recommendation was to support existing or proposed legislation, and it listed a couple of them, and one of them would add one for the addition of more voter service centers on election day.
What paragraph?
I think it is the second set of paragraphs. I don't see it in front of me. It says there were two paragraphs for proposals. One was the first set, and there's a second set that had draft legislation. I want to add it to the second set of paragraphs. I think it's the paragraph that has campaign spending commission and also voter registration.
I think you're referring to the last be it further resolved section, yeah, and just adding that in as an additional one.
Right.
There is on the bottom of that one, there is the last point in that paragraph or section is enact true automatic voter registration, blah, blah, blah. So it's relating to voting center or voting, the process of voting. So it would fit along with that.
I would add voter service centers specifically. I'm at odds with automatic voter registration, but I'll support the resolution. We do specifically talk about voter service centers.
Wait. So it's okay to put the voter service center under that portion of the resolution?
In that portion of the resolution, yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Sakamoto seconds that. To put that language in.
Point of order. Point of order. Is that going to cause us to table the vote until we get the new language in? So so now we're going to vote on whether or not to.
Introduce some new verbiage to the resolution. Is there any more discussion on that? Anybody second that, by the way?
Donald did.
Discussion, any additional discussion, discuss that in turn. So thank you, Sergeant.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to, I think that means that we table the vote on the res itself, get the language put in it and bring it up to the next meeting, although.
No, we
process.
can do it right now.
We can do it now? Okay, cool. Somebody write it.
Can move to vote as amended. Is that
Yes.
process?
So we vote for the amendment to approve it.
Okay.
That's correct. That's correct. Is the discussion closed on that topic? Very well. Is there a motion to accept the amendment?
I move to accept the amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none? Now we can go back to as amended. Thank you. Now, is there any other additional discussion to the reso as amended? Are we using the our version that we submitted, or we?
I originally, at the full originally, planning on.
That's going to go. They say the same thing, they say different.
So I guess we're on that.
Okay. Any other further discussion on that resolution of good government? Motion to approve as amended?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? Right, any board committee reports or assignments? I think the only thing I'd like to add to this, I'm sorry. We have a community engagement committee that comprises Adriel and Elena. And Abe, if you wouldn't mind serving on that committee? Community engagement, that's a big thing. We have a meeting like this. Huh? Oh. Sorry. I was just asking a new member, Abe, to join the Community Engagement Committee? And he said yes. Donald, you want to join the Community Engagement Committee as well?
No, I'm going to talk about another thing on the committee, but
You have a report to make?
yeah, report for transportation.
Can we, is it vital? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I attended the Honolulu Rate Commission meeting this Tuesday on January 14th. And they are going to have public meetings in February from the 10th to the 14th to get public input. I will email you folks the dates and times where they're going to have it to give feedback about increases for bus, rail, and handy van. And then the Federal Transit Administration is doing a 3-year FY internal assessment of the bus and the handy van and Skyline. And I'm asking for the public, if there's anybody writing paratransit, to contact me on my email, cylon1@aol.com. And we would like to hear from you to have your name and phone number and email address to give input about the handy van to the Federal Transit Administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other vital board committee reports? If they're just routine, email them to me and I will send them to the rest of the board. Neil?
I know time's short. Do we want to take up anything with regard to the Let's Protect Bill 73 committee to interface with the Kailua committee about landfills? Do we want to deal with that tonight or set up a committee?
Well, it's not on the agenda. There's nothing for us to, I'd love to be able to deal with it tonight, but give it some thought, everybody, and we should come back very quickly and share our mana'o. Next regular board meeting is going to be Thursday, February 20th at 6:30 here at Benjamin Parker, unless there is a change in venue, but that's where it's scheduled to be. Don't forget neighborhood board elections. Candidate registration is open and we will be closing on Friday, and we'll close on Friday to register for your candidacy. This is the most board members I've ever seen at a meeting, and I can't tell you how long. February 21st. So I've registered already. I hope you all do too. This is a good group, and I think we can get stuff done. So I look forward to seeing you all again. Announcement, Auntie Rocky. I didn't make you sit in your car for 7 hours though.
Altogether 16 hours just for the subject on Hia State Park. But for your information, because we were all blindsided, you guys, us guys, the community, even the Halau Kohona is based in the state of Virginia. And all of their board members is in Virginia. Not that we don't have halaus in Kolaupoko, but just for your information, because it was not sent out to the public yet. But the Kolaupoko Hawaiian Civic Club, again, once a year we give out scholarships. And the age has no difference here. You want to continue your education, put in a scholarship, you have to be from 96744. And it's a kolaupoko.hcc.org. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this meeting of the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board. We are adjourned.